Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The abundant hypocrisy of the left, and of course sometimes with a little bit of a side of abundant hypocrisy of these clown show Republicans, these neocon uniparty goons, these frickin' traitors. And of course I mean traitors to their constituents, to their party, and their party leader Donald Trump. I don't mean traitors to the nation. That's pushing it too far, that's Democrat speak. But today we gotta talk about Lindsey Graham. He's a guy who we have analyzed, we have scrutinized in heavy detail, basically since the start of this channel. He's the man that keeps on delivering, not delivering in a good way, but just, delivering, in many cases for Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi. The guy is a frickin' scoundrel, and every single time, he has no shame. The fact that he hasn't resigned is a little bit shocking, but you'd kind of expect this guy to lay low, to hide. Instead, as I just said, he has absolutely no shame, and he keeps showing his faces where he knows that he probably shouldn't. This time at a Trump rally. Honestly, I don't know what the Trump camp was thinking. Having this guy on stage, boy, it didn't go well. He got booed into oblivion, viciously booed off stage, literally couldn't even get a word in. And of course, we've got some stuff to talk about. Let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so Lindsey Graham, we'll get into why he's a scoundrel and shouldn't be trusted a little bit later. First, let's start off with the clips. Here's Lindsey Graham showing up at a Trump rally.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome United States Senator Lindsey Graham.
Thank y'all. Welcome to Pickens. Thank y'all for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank you all for coming. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a bunch.
Booed from start to finish, literally could not get a word in. And here's another angle to show you just how bad it was.
Welcome to Pickens. Thank y'all for coming.
They didn't even let him speak. Apparently, this is news to me. They refer to Lindsey Graham as Linda Graham in South Carolina. You love to see it. Lindsey Graham is arguably the worst Republican in Washington. Now, your reaction is probably, well, Mitt Romney exists. There's a whole lot of terrible people in the Republican Party. Yeah, well, Lindsey Graham is worse. At least that's my perspective. Because there's nothing worse than a snake. There's nothing worse than somebody who's two-faced and slimy. A quote-unquote Republican like Liz Cheney. Don't get me wrong, but at least she's consistent and open about what she's doing and what her agenda is. Her agenda is to represent the Republican establishment of old and to go after and attempt to take down Trump. Lindsey Graham represents that same agenda, that same Cheney, Liz Cheney, Bush agenda, not to mention his fondness for Democrats and Joe Biden, but he's two-faced and tries to play both sides. He's a literal saboteur. We've covered it multiple times. Ahead of the 2022 midterms, after Roe v. Wade was shot down by the Supreme Court, there was a whole lot of fear-mongering that Republicans were going to try to pass federal legislation outlawing abortion after 6 weeks, trying to make it the law of the land. And clearly that wasn't the Republican majority view. People simply wanted it to be sent back to the states, and obviously that kind of legislation is never going to make it past the House or the Senate. It was Democrat fear-mongering, and then Lindsey Graham, a couple days later, introduces by himself that exact piece of legislation that Democrats were fear-mongering about, giving them the perfect ammunition that they needed. And he's done things like that on multiple different occasions. Not to mention he pretty much greenlights and passes every single Joe Biden nomination. His very good friend Joe Biden. The guy is such a saboteur, he's so two-faced. When he needs Donald Trump, he kisses his damn feet. When there's a Trump rally in South Carolina, he always goes on stage and adores the free publicity. But after January 6th, for instance, when Donald Trump is facing heat, Lindsey Graham's the first person to switch sides. He is the most two-faced politician. He is the worst Republican in Washington. And he's gotten away with it for a mighty long time. Well, apparently not anymore. In his home state of South Carolina, he gets booed into oblivion. He gets yelled at and called a traitor, gets literally booed off stage. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. The next step here, hopefully, is to vote him out of office. In my opinion, the only place where Lindsey Graham belongs is literally anywhere but public elected office. And also on stage during a Trump rally, clearly. You know, there's probably two things to be said about Lindsey Graham being on stage there. The first is a point made by Red Eagle Politics on Twitter. He links the video and writes, "But I was told that Trump supporters were all cultists without a mind of their own who only care if people like Trump. The implication is that Trump supporters are mindless drones who support literally anything that Donald Trump does and says and constantly justify it, that are never critical of anything that Trump does or anything Trump associates himself with. Obviously, that isn't the case because here we have Donald Trump, or at least Trump's team, putting Lindsey Graham on stage, and Trump supporters aren't exactly so fond of it. You know, there's a good amount of things, a good amount of decisions that Donald Trump has made that clearly his voting base aren't exactly fans of. There's another example. I think it's a great point. And now the second thing that we have to talk about is, why the hell was Lindsey Graham on stage? Not exactly sure. Possible that it's a trend that we've seen with Donald Trump, where he keeps allowing these total snakes back into his inner circle, people like John Bolton and others. If that's the case, well, hopefully Trump's going to learn his lesson here. However, it's also possible that Trump did this on purpose and put Lindsey Graham on stage so his supporters could throw tomatoes at him. And if that's the case, then well done. Although honestly, if you're in Donald Trump's mind, it's hard to tell what exactly the thought process here was. But in the end, it doesn't really change much. Lindsey Graham is the senator from the state of South Carolina, and there's the visual representation of how it's going for Linda Graham. Not exactly going so hot. On the Donald Trump front, however, it seems as though it's going pretty darn well. Here's the overflow of people who showed up at the rally.
Then there's the runaway inflation. Prices are rising so high, so fast, it's hard to win if prices rise. For over 2 years.
And here are some highlights from the rally itself. Quite the stark contrast between Trump and Lindsey Graham, and hopefully that has some sort of an effect. Neocon uniparty loser gets booed off stage. It's a beautiful headline, and we'll pretty much just end the video there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. You know that we'd love to have you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.